Welcome to part 2 of this two-part series. We are ranking all 30 teams in a power ranking right now. So guys, enjoy the video. Have a fantastic day. Let's get to it.
Baby. Enjoy this great game.
If you were shocked that the Brewers and Cardinals were that low, get ready, sit down. You're going to be shocked I got this team this low, and that is the Cleveland Indians. Again, I'm looking at rosters. I'm not thinking about where teams ended up. I don't care where they were in the standings last year or the year before. I don't care. I'm looking at their rosters right now, and based on that, how good do they look? And to me, the Indians, they don't look nearly as good as they have in recent years. They lost Trevor Bauer to the Reds, who I'll be talking about soon enough. They still have a solid rotation. Don't get me wrong. Mike Clevenger, of course, Shane Bieber, Carlos Carrasco. They also lost Corey Kluber, who I just talked about. So, I mean, they didn't make any big upgrades. They still got Francisco Lindor and Jose Ramirez and Carlos Santana, and those are some good hitters. Don't get me wrong on the Indians. They're still good. That's why they're, right in the middle at number 15, but I couldn't put them much higher than that because the teams I'm about to talk about, I'm really excited about as we get into the upper half of this list. So the Cleveland Indians, I got them at number 15. Coming in at number 14, a team that no one would have thought would ever be this high this soon, and that's the Diamondbacks, another team of the NL West that I have to give props to because the Diamondbacks have made big moves, including, obviously, adding Madison Bumgarner, one of the best World Series pitchers in the history of baseball. Junior Guerra is a solid arm to shore up that bullpen, and of course, Archie Bradley closing out games already there, and then you got guys like Starling Marte they pick up from Pittsburgh. They got guys like Cole Calhoun as a power-hitting outfielder that they signed, former Angel there, and you still got Nick Ahmed, you still got Tim LaCastro, he gets on base like nobody's business. Eduardo Escobar is going to hit you some bombs, and then that rotation, in addition to Mad Bum, you still got Robbie Ray, Luke Weaver, Mike Leake is a pretty good arm. I really like what the Diamondbacks did, and on paper, as far as a power ranking go, this is where I got him. I got him up at number 14 for the D-backs. Coming up next is going to be the New York Mets. And the Mets dropped quite a few spots recently because one of their good pitchers, one of their better pitchers, Noah Syndergaard, had to have Tommy John. So I'm assuming he's going to be out when the season begins. And that really hurts. But I was actually surprised when I looked at this team, and they're a pretty good team. They got a lot of talent. And that's why they're still where they're at number 13. Jacob deGrom in your rotation, Stroman, Rick Porcello, Michael Wacha, Steven Matz, a lot of big names there despite losing Noah Syndergaard. And then when you sign a guy like Dellin Betances to shore up a bullpen that also has some good names despite the fact they didn't all have great seasons last year, like Edwin Diaz and Jeurys Familia, for instance. You still got Seth Lugo, who I think could be a closer for them, Justin Wilson. I mean, that's just a lot of nice names there. And then, of course, your lineup is just absolutely loaded. Guys like Pete Alonso, he's going to hit you a ton of home runs. Brandon Nimmo, Michael Conforto, J.D. Davis, the list goes on and on and on. You do got some contracts that are not the best, like Robinson Cano, but Cano, he can still hit. He's still Robinson Cano. Yoenis Cespedes, I don't know what's going on there, but hopefully he'll be able to contribute a little bit as well. And, I don't see them up as a top 10 team right now, but I do got them at number 13, New York Mets. At number 12, it is the Philadelphia Phillies, up there pretty high. The Phillies, this is a team I see having a better year. They just hired a really good manager. This is a team that had some injury problems last year, such as Andrew McCutchen, who just got hurt again. Looked like he was going to miss opening day, but he might not now, since we don't know when opening day is going to be. So that might be good for the Phillies. You got Zach Wheeler, a huge offseason signing for them. This guy is awesome. Aaron Nola, Jake Arrieta. You got Zach Efron, who is underrated, and then providing the runs, a very strong lineup. You got JT Realmuto, one of the best catchers in the game. Rhys Hoskins. They signed Didi Gregorius as a free agent. I mentioned McCutchen, Adam Hazley. And, I think the biggest question, though, has to go to the big guy. What are we going to see with Bryce Harper? But the bottom line is, whether Bryce Harper has an MVP year like 2015 or he hits around 250, he's still going to hit you 35 plus bombs. He's still clutch, and he's still a superstar. So when you look at this roster and I compare it to the Mets, I give the Phillies the slight edge, and that's why I have them slightly above the New York Mets.
And so I got the Philadelphia Phillies at number 12.
At number 11, the Chicago Cubs, a team I grew up watching a lot on WGN, so I have a soft spot for the Cubs. But this is a team that I see kind of dropping a little bit down the list. They're still number 11, very respectable on a top 30, but I just don't know how a lot of their veterans are going to perform next year. Guys like Jason Hayward, Anthony Rizzo's still pretty good. Darvish is, a little bit older than people might think. Kyle Hendricks, you got John Lester. He's still performing, but it's a lot of question marks there. They obviously got their superstars, Javi Baez, Chris Bryant, and I don't know quite what to expect from Craig Kimbrell, who is supposed to be their superstar closer, but was terrible last season. So just don't know what to expect there. I'm sure he's going to do better than he did last year. But when I looked at the team and I compared it to some other teams, this is where I had the Cubs. I didn't have them in the top 10. I had them just missing out at the top 10 at number 11. Moving into the top 10, at number 10, I got the Washington Nationals, world champions. Again, looking at on paper, I'm not giving them any credit for that world championship when it comes to making this list. I know that sounds harsh, but this is a power ranking. I'm looking at the roster. That's all I need to see. And there's a reason that they weren't favorites last year. There's a reason that it's such a historic run. And that's because they're good. They had a good roster, but no one thought that they were going to win a World Series. And they went ahead and did it, which is awesome. And all credit due there. All due credit. But anyway, the Nats, I got it number 10. I love their offseason. I love that they kept most of their players. They did lose Rendon, but they keep Strasburg. They got Scherzer still. They got Corbin. They got Doolittle in the bullpen. They added Will Harris, too. Also, he's a really good pitcher that's going to be in that bullpen. Tanner Rainey, a solid young arm in the bullpen. And, of course, Juan Soto and Trey Turner and all the regulars. And then they added Starlin Castro and Eric Thames. They still got a ton of firepower. They still got a great manager in Dave Martinez, and there's no reason to think that they're not going to have a great season in 2020. But I'm just saying, roster-wise, I got them at number 10. It's a nice spot to be. Number 10. You're in the top 10, but that's as high as I could put the Nationals. So, in at number 9, I got the Cincinnati Reds. How the hell did the Cincinnati Reds get all the way up to number 9? Because they had a sick offseason. I love their offseason. I couldn't stop talking about the Reds because they kept on making move after free agent signing, and they looked awesome. And with this delay, Suarez should be 100%, and he's going to be back and ready to hit a bunch of bombs for Cincinnati. And, you got Mike Moustakas. Obviously, we know what he can do. Shogo Akiyama coming over from Japan. He has been a really solid hitter in Japan, makes contact with the ball, gets on base. Nick Castellanos, of course, one of the big free agent outfielders. They picked him up. Still got Joey Votto at first. Still got a ton of young talent and potential. And guys like Aristides Aquino, the guy can hit home runs like it's nobody's business. Nick Senzel, of course. But the rotation, holy hell. Luis Castillo, Sonny Gray, Trevor Bauer, and that's just your 1, 2, 3. Those guys are just strikeout machines. And then when you get through that, you still got a couple of respectable pitchers in DeSclafani and Wade Miley. They improved their bullpen with Pedro Strop, a bullpen that already had Amir Garrett. It already had Michael Lorenzen, who can also hit, by the way, and play outfield. You got Robert Stevenson. You got Raisel Iglesias, who I think is going to have a much better year. The team is just stacked. I mean, they just are. And this is, I'm putting them at number 9. I could have put them even higher, but I think I probably got them higher than any other list that you'll find because I really respect what the Reds did, and I really love their roster. And there's always teams that weren't good one year who come and rise the next year, and I think the Reds are going to be one of those teams. I love the Reds. I got them at number 9. And at number 8, this is a team that has very quietly put together a sick roster, and that's my friends across the bay, the Oakland A's. This is a really solid team from top to bottom. No major holes, no major flaws. They may not be absolutely stacked like some of the teams I'm about to talk about, but they still are a really good-looking team. They got a solid rotation with Mike Fiers. And, look for also Jesus Luzardo to break through. This guy has a huge talent. And, their bullpen is deep, with Hendricks and Yusmeiro Petit, former Giant. Lou Trevino, and, a great lineup, produces runs, and that's what you need to win games. And, when you have Matt Chapman, and you have Marcus Semien, and you have Steven Piscotty, and Chris Davis hitting you bombs left and right, this is a team that, like I said, they may not be, absolutely stacked, but they are super solid top to bottom. Unfortunately, they're in a division with a team like the Astros, who are good for more reasons than one. But the A's, the really good team, and I got them ranked up there on my list at Numero 8. Moving on. Jesus, a long-ass video. Moving into number 7. Lucky number 7 is going to be the Minnesota Twins, a team that won over 100 games last year. I still see them as a really good team. That's why they're number 7. They made a couple of nice moves. They signed Rich Hill. They signed Homer Bailey, but that was because they lost a couple of really good arms as well in Kyle Gibson and Martin Perez. So I don't know if Hill and Bailey can replace that, but at least they tried. And the rotation does have Jake Odorizzo, by the way, and Jose Barrios. So it's not like, Hill and Bailey are their top 2 guys. But anyway, they have a great bullpen, Taylor Rogers and Tyler Duffy, among many others. And like I said, big bats in that lineup. Nelson Cruz, Max Kepler, the list goes on and on. Eddie Rosario. You got a super contact hitter in Luis Arias. And of course, their big free agent signing with Josh Donaldson. And if Josh Donaldson can have anything a year like he did last year, look out for Josh Donaldson and the Twins.
Anyway, I got the Twins at number 7.
Number 6, and I gave this team the best offseason of 2019 into 2020. That's the Chicago White Sox. Major improvements, unbelievable lineup, tons of power, absolutely stacked, and a good rotation and a good bullpen as well. And that's more than enough for me to put this team just ahead of the Twins. I said their rotation is good. I don't think it's great, but they did add Dallas Keuchel, they add Gio Gonzalez, and you got Lucas Giolito. And Lucas Giolito won 14 games, had a 3.4 ERA, but he struck out 228 guys, so he is absolutely solid. You got a pretty good bullpen, Alex Colomé, Aaron Bummer, and they also signed Steve Cishek. So, your pitching is solid. It really is. I wouldn't say it's great, but it's good to very good. And that's all you need when you have this type of lineup. It is just stacked. Tim Anderson, Eloy Jimenez, who hit 31 bombs. Yoan Moncada hit 315 with 25 bombs. Jose Abreu is an absolute beast. Then you add to that Yasmani Grandal. Edwin Encarnacion has been just consistent year after year throughout his career. Nomar Mazara from the Rangers. He's a solid hitter. And then your prospects. Luis Robert has not had a major league at bat yet. I don't care. He has shown more than enough. He is an absolute stud. I will be shocked if he is not awesome at the big league level. And Nick Madrigal, who just never strikes out. What a contact hitter that is. And those two guys are also, that was enough for me. When you combine those two to everything else I talked about, you got a team that I had to put slightly above the Twins. And I think I might just pick to win the American League Central. And I got the White Sox at number 6 on my power ranking. It's time for the top 5, and at number 5, this is my favorite team in the American League, and it's the Tampa Bay Rays. And the Rays are a team kind of the opposite of the White Sox. Instead of having a really solid pitching staff and an awesome lineup, they have an awesome pitching staff and a really good lineup, but I put them slightly above just because I feel like a solid pitching rotation 1 through 5 is so important because, if these guys show up every day, you got more than a chance to win every game. You're going to probably win the vast majority of games you play with this kind of a rotation, and the Rays have it. We're talking about Blake Snell, Tyler Glasnow, Charlie Morton, Yonny Chirinos, then Ryan Yarbrough. I mean, it is very solid. You can check out their stats. It is good. And a bullpen with Nick Anderson, with Chaz Rowe. I'm not going to name them all, but they're all flamethrowers. They all strike out a ton of guys. Oliver Drake. I mean, the list goes on. They got an outstanding bullpen, and they got a sick rotation. So to me, all you need is just a decent lineup that can provide you with at least 3, 4, 5, 6 runs a game. You don't need an absolute, 27 Yankees type lineup. You just need a solid lineup, and they definitely have that. With Austin Meadows, you got an amazing young talent there with Hunter Renfroe providing some pop, with G-Man Choi at first, and they also picked up, Jose Martinez from the Cardinals, as well as Randy Arozarena. Both those guys are absolutely solid. Arozarena, I see, is a huge prospect for the Rays now, and I thought he was going to do big things for the Cardinals. The Rays, really, really good. I got them at number 5. Only 4 more teams, and number 4 is the Atlanta Braves, a team that I've liked for a few years. I've been picking them. I picked them to win the World Series last year. Sorely mistaken, but I still really like this team despite they lost Josh Donaldson. And, I really do still really like this team. That's why I got them at number 4. They added Cole Hamels to that rotation. That's already really good, led by Mike Soroka. You got Max Fried, who won, 17 games last year, 4.02 ERA, sick bullpen. Then you add Will Smith to that bullpen. You got Mark Melanson, who used to be an elite closer. You got Darren O'Day. You got Chris Martin. You got Shane Green. They really got a solid pitching staff. And then they got an offense, despite losing Donaldson. Like I said, they add Travis d'Arnaud. They add Marcell Ozuna, who's a really good hitter, former Cardinal. And you know what? I really love Austin Riley. I know he has some problems at the plate. Making contact, he strikes out too much. He's got some issues, but I think if he can work some of those out, I've seen enough of Austin Riley. I feel like there's a ton of potential there. You might have somebody there, but even if you don't, they still got a really good team that I feel like is one of the best teams in baseball, and that's why I got them way up at number 4. Moving into the top 3, and again, this is power ranking. I just looked at roster. I'm not worried about controversies. I'm not worried about anything else. And that's why the Houston Astros are at number 3. They're not a popular team right now, but they still have a ridiculous roster. And I can't just look at these hitters and be like, oh, he's only good because he cheated. He's only good because he cheated. Because I don't know. They still played good on the road. It's hard to say for sure. So I'm just going to look at it at face value and look at these players and say, these guys are really good. If they prove to not be good, then that will change my mind for future rankings. But right now, all I see is talent on this team. And that applies to the pitching rotation as well. Verlander, Greinke, Lance McCullers Jr., Jose Urquidy. They have a ton of talent in the rotation. They did lose Will Harris, but they still got some talent in the bullpen with Joe Smith and Brad Peacock, obviously Roberto Osuna. And the lineup, I'm sorry. You just can't say that guys like Alex Bregman and Jose Altuve and Carlos Correa and Josh Reddick and George Springer, you can't say that they're not any good because of this controversy. They still are good hitters. At least we have to assume that, or I have to assume that until they prove otherwise. The team is loaded. The team is really good. Doesn't mean I'm going to pick them to win the division or even to make the playoffs, because this is not what this ranking is about. This is a power ranking based solely on their roster, and I just couldn't put the Astros lower than this. I wanted to, but I couldn't. Astros number 3. So if you paid attention so far and you made it this far, there's only 2 more teams left. Yankees, Dodgers. I wanted so bad to not put the Dodgers number 1. I wanted to put the Dodgers number 2. I tried to put the Dodgers number 2, but I couldn't put the Dodgers number 2. I had to be honest, unbiased. The Yankees are number 2, guys. They have so many injuries, and injuries do count because those are guys who are not going to be on your active roster. And that was the biggest problem for the Yankees, and that was why I couldn't come up with a reason to put them number 1. But they still got Garrett Cole. They still got Tanaka. They still got J.A. Happ. But you got James Paxton with back injury. You got Domingo Germán suspended. And now Luis Severino with Tommy John. You got guys like Stanton and Aaron Judge getting hurt. They might be okay now with this delay, but I don't know. But they're obviously big-time players. And if they couldn't get okay after a full off season, I don't know if they're going to be okay after this delay, but we'll see. Still, the team is absolutely stacked. The only issue is injuries. And because they've suffered and are suffering more injuries than the Dodgers, who have just as stacked, if not more so, I just couldn't come up with a reason to put the Dodgers below the Yankees. So I do have the Yankees in at still number 2, and a power ranking out of 30 teams is pretty damn good. And the Yankees are pretty damn good despite these injury issues. This team is really good, absolutely loaded. And I got the New York Yankees at number 2, which leaves me with no choice but to put the arch rivals, the Los Angeles Dodgers, at number 1 as far as a power ranking. Based on their roster, I got to give credit where credit is due, and they have a stacked roster. I'm not going to go on and on about it because I have done that in previous videos, but we already know it's just the fact of the matter. When you got a rotation with guys like Clayton Kershaw, David Price, who they picked up in the deal with the Red Sox, obviously, you got Buehler, you got Jose Urias, you got Alex Wood. There's just no holes there. And you got a solid bullpen. Kenley Jansen, Joe Kelly. They add Blake Trinan as a nice bullpen piece. You still got Dustin May, one of their better prospects. You still got Pedro Baez. And they picked up Brusdar Graterol from the Twins. How good do they have to be? But the offense, despite that awesome pitching staff I just talked about, their freaking offense. There's no holes. There's no weaknesses. They're just loaded top to bottom, and there was no choice. As far as a roster, the Dodgers definitely are at number 1. And if you made it this far in the video, this is a Los Angeles Dodgers size 738 5950 new era cap. And if you're a Dodgers fan, I've been trying to give this cap away. So if you made it this far in the video, Let me know down in the comments below because I'm trying to give away this cap, and I'll give it away to one lucky commenter down below. Just let me know, and please be sure to hit the thumbs up and subscribe as well before you put that comment. But I'll be sending this cap out. This is a Armed Forces special cap, so new era. So that is my top 30 teams ranking from bottom to top, number 30 to number 1. Let me know in the comments what you guys think of it. And, you know, it breaks my heart to put the Giants at number 24, but I think that is changing very quickly. I think they're going to move up that ranking very quickly over the next 2-3 years because their farm system is loaded, but I'm not considering farm system in this video. So anyway, thanks guys for joining me. Let me know below what you think. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that thumbs up button. Talking more baseball real soon. That's my top 30. Have a great day, and I'm going to talk to you next time. See ya! When the Giants come to town, it's bye-bye, baby. Every time the chips are